What is up, guys? We're gonna be going over the 4-4-1-1 formation. It is really unique. We'll get into that later though. Anyways, if you guys are interested in the 4-3-3 fourth variation, I'll drop that in the description down below. Anyways, to get onto the formation instructions, we're gonna go for the left and right back. It's gonna be balanced on the attacking ones because we don't want them to always overlap, but we don't want them to always just stay back. Yeah, just keep it in balance because it really depends on the style and the flow. So I really like to keep it in balance. And for the interceptions, I stress this out a lot in my other video as well. Interceptions have to be conservative because you want to get a penalty with your left or right back. I don't know why, but left and right backs tend to have the mentality really aggressive. So you don't need to make them be aggressive. You actually want to be conservative because if you get a penalty, it really kills you mentally. Moving on to our midfielders are really important because they run the game, yes, as in a real life game. Anyways, for both our midfielders, we want them to stay back while attacking. We want them to have aggressive interceptions, and for shootouts and crosses, we want them to stay outside the box. And why? Because the formation is really attacking, as I mentioned before. And if a striker does his shot on target to the goalie and it bounces back, and the opponent picks it up, that midfielder will intercept it as aggressive as possible to turn it around and hopefully create a chance or score. So it's really important to have them to stay back, stay outside the box. You don't want to get in the box because then you're gonna have like the whole opponent. You're gonna be really vulnerable to a counter attack, and we don't want that. Moving on to our left and right wingers, it's really important that you make them stay wide. It's really important to get them to stay wide and get in behind. For defensive runs, you want it to be unbalanced because you don't want it to stay back and defend, but you don't want it to stay forward because you're going to be vulnerable to a counter attack, as I mentioned. So this is really attactive. And for crosses, you want it to be in balance because you don't want it to get inside of the whole time or you stay outside of the box, since your midfielders are already doing that. So you just want it to be balanced. And for interceptions, as I mentioned on my other video, you want it to be conservative because if it's aggressive, for the most part, you're just going to kill their stamina, and we want to conserve their stamina since in this FIFA, their stamina really dies out really quick. I know this is going to sound really weird, but you want everything to stay regular. Yes, for the interceptions to be aggressive. Really, you want your CF to be the one who creates the chances. You don't want to interfere with any of the instructions. So yes, make them be aggressive interceptions for whatever. I know this is really weird. For the CF, you don't want to move anything except for interceptions. You want them to be aggressive. Why not move anything? Because there's times where you want your CF to act as a false 9, or there's times where you want him to act a target man, or there's times where you're gonna do the 1-2 with your striker and you want him to get in behind. So because of that, just leave everything regular. Yes, the aggressive interceptions. And for the striker, as you might already know, you want him to stay central, get in behind, aggressive interceptions, and press backline. A press backline is really important. Like literally, if you don't put press backline in this formation, everything else might fail. Because the whole point is you want the striker to push up while the wingers push down the sides. And it opens up a large amount of gaps. This is why I really love the 4-4-1-1, because the formation is kind of designed to push his opponent into a high pressure and open up a lot of gaps. Trust me, this formation is really good. Give it a try. Alright guys, we're going to be moving on to the tactics. For speed, we're going to have it at 53. We don't want to go too crazy with speed, or we don't want it to be too slow. We just want it to be balanced. And for passing, it's going to be 47. For positioning on the defense, it's going to be organized. For chance creation for the passing, it's going to be 63. For crossing, it's going to be 67, not because we're going to be crossing a lot, but because we want two wingers to be as wide as possible, as I mentioned before. So we want to exploit spaces from the opponent. For shooting, it's going to be 65 because we really want to push our midfielders to stay outside the box, to hopefully intercept any shot that didn't go on to the back of the net. For positioning, it's going to be organized. For the defensive pressure, it's going to be 40. For the aggression on the teams, it's going to be 35, because you don't want them to be too aggressive and you don't want any gaps in your middle or defensive line. And for team width, it's going to be 35. And for defensive line, as you already know, it's going to be cover. One thing I really want to point out is for the creation, it's going to be organized. Usually it's always going to be freeform, but in this formation especially, because this formation, it's really attactive, as I always mention, and you don't want your midfielders to go inside of the box. You don't want your wingers to be doing crazy shit. You want them to actually stay wide to create that gap in your opponent's defense. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, if you want to see another formation, want to see the players I use specifically for this formation, just drop a comment. Drop a comment to let me know anything. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and thank you for all the support, for all those like 60 views I got on my last video. I really appreciate that, and peace.